Yeehaw, everybody! What's going on? It is Lambowski and Trip Nip Hick with the third Nip himself here with IVRL Season 1, Week 12, the Yeehaw cast between Dark Matter versus Mayhem. Trip, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing fantastic. How you doing? And how are all those lovely people at home doing? This toothpick's getting in the way of this accent. I'm so looking forward to this. I've been pissing off my roommate all week doing my little redneck draw, and she told me she's moving out. So I'm gonna,
She's not a fan of the
making the best of it.
The southern.
She ain't a fan of it.
She's not a fan of the southern version.
Okay. No. I don't know why. It's very charming. A southern charm, right?
Yeah, I thought so. My wife thought so, but
unfortunately, your wife thought so with me too.
Yeah, I am taking so your roommate's not in danger. So, all jokes aside, between the yeehaws and all the ahas that we're going to be having tonight, Dark Matter Mayhem, how you feeling?
I think this is going to be a great matchup. I am super excited for it. These teams are great to watch. I love watching both of them. I really don't know what to say. All I can say is we have that ban info, so we could go over that stuff right now.
Yeah, we can. While we do that, tell me what they are, because I was doing that when it messed up the camera source.
All right. So the bans, Dark Matter is going to ban Downfall and Abandon.
Taking care of all that long range nonsense.
They don't want none of them snipers on the battlefield. And Mayhem's going to ban Shipyard and USS Quest because apparently they don't like boats.
Shipyard and USS Quest because we don't like the water, they say. They're not a fan of the Captain SV Nip.
They're lake people. They ain't ocean people.
Ocean people, not like okay.
Ocean people.
They are lake wanderers. Got you.
Yep.
And it just so happened we've banned the last 4 maps of the list. That's the first time I've seen that. A little coincidental, I think not.
And we have map number 1. Are you ready for it? Are you ready? It's gonna be a spicy one.
They already know.
We're going to cargo. Well, damn.
Well, shit. We are sitting at a full 5v5 now, though. We'll go in, and you want to take off and let them know what these rosters are with Dark Matter Mayhem?
Yeah. So on the Dark Matter side, we've got Dr. Aquafighter, Mad Outdoors, Zucchini, Zucky. Call him Zucky.
Okay.
Back on the roster. Hadn't he been out on an injury, or has he been playing this season? I can't remember.
I am not 100%. I believe Zucchini had at some point taken a quick break, but I'm not sure exactly how long and for what reason. I'm sure.
And then we got Ramen and Will, and they can definitely let us know. And then on the Mayhem side, we got Wookie Solar Bob, Haywire Bubble, newest pickup, and we're going to definitely go into that later. James Boak and Capitano. And we're kicking it off. Let's get into round number 1.
Speaking of Mayhem, they are sitting with Volk round number 1. We'll see if Dark Matter can outlast at least a couple tosses from the nades of James Boak.
We know that everyone's been playing a little bit more aggressively. Ramen's coming around the backside now. He gets Capitano. I think Dark Matter has the advantage here on the aggression side. They definitely play a little bit more aggressive than Mayhem has.
Watch it, one in the yellow.
Oh, Zucchini gets another, but Wookie gets a kaboom with the C4. Just a down, though. Now they're going to go for the res. In the open, a little bit exposed. Wookie's looking for some kills. He throws a nade out. No, he throws a molly out. Oh, it doesn't catch anybody. Unfortunate. I like some barbecue. Ramen gets to the back lines, and he takes down Solar. And then gets murdered by Will. Haywire, last man alive. Can he do it? Well, he keeps them from capping, which is what really matters here.
Will letting Ramen know it's very much his fault for that TK. It's not Will's fault.
Absolutely his fault. I mean, I didn't hear him call a rotation. Did you hear him call a rotation? It's definitely his fault.
I didn't hear it myself. I am wondering why. Come on now, bruh.
Did you break me again?
Yeah, no, you're moving just fine. It's the scoreboard.
I gotta show the people. I gotta show the people my outfits. We have outfits for tonight. Lambo will have to show you his later once he fixes his stuff. But We got the American flag everywhere. It's
Yeehaw,
beautiful.
brother.
Yeehaw!
Hell
They need some freedoms.
freedoms. No, problem is, we've got dual cams working just fine. It's the touch portal that does not want to update. I'm trying to give Dark Matter their point here on the scoreboard, and this feller's not
that's
wanting
the other plugin, the advanced plugin. Go in and reconnect it. We do tech fixes on the fly, people.
something like that.
Something like
Okay, so it's working on my phone now.
break.
No. We might be
Well,
okay.
let's go with that.
Hold on. But it's not updating on the OBS. Come on, bruh.
Ooh.
It'll get there.
You know what else we're gonna have tonight? We're gonna have predictions.
We will. We will. But
All right, let's get back into.
I think it updated
Map
right before
number
I switched. I think we're getting it here. Nade. A lot
Oh
of,
my God!
A lot of
Oh
Nemo.
my God!
Oh my good golly gracious.
Ramen gets a C4 out there in the diamond. James takes down Zucky on yellow room. Capitano's pushing up in the center.
Matt's got frags coming out. Not going to find Haywire, but get pretty close.
Keep an eye on that left side since we're weak on it.
Got to get nice and close to my desk here.
As we can see, Mayhem's taking a much slower approach. Like I said, Dark Matter likes to play aggressively. Mayhem, not so much.
C4 not going to find nobody. Another C4 not going to find nobody. M203 up from Solar.
203 smoke, not something you really see on a short map. Now Armin's getting pushy. He goes up and goes for Cappy. And they trade, and it's just death all around.
Smoke's coming from
Someone
the
check.
side.
Roll Tide. I am obligated to respond with Roll Tide.
Rotad.
Bam.
Roadhouse.
Yeah, I think I heard footsteps into 3, be aware. Unless those are your footsteps.
Plenty of smokes out. One definitely going to be a little too far from the OBJ.
Hey, voices by tunnel.
The right more.
Dark Matter versus Mayhem 3-4 right now. Aqua Fighter will sell my P, and we got Man Outdoors over here trying to take care of Solar Bob and Haywire's cross from the tunnel. Dealing with the smoke there in the green freighter. Wookie just across.
Wookie holding a nice angle
Yeah.
there.
Doctor finding Solar, tying this up 3-3. So plenty of time for this 3v3. Will finding James. Wookie trying to get the refrag. Bouncing
Has a
into
shoot
yellow room.
Back right area.
Can the new addition of Haywire be shown fruitful
It
this
gets him
early
through
on?
the door.
A little crease in the door. Yeah, just tiny little shot, but very good shot by Haywire. Tying this up.
Talk about Haywire. Haywire pickup from what was Raw Meat. Hasn't played this season. And, yeah. Looking like he's going to be a good addition to Mayhem. The Mayhemians. Mayhemian Rhapsody. Will here looking for Wookie. Pretty sure she knows he's in that door. Yep, definitely knew he was there. He did.
Haywire almost found Will. Oh my God.
So he knows he was called out, which means he's sitting there waiting, and he gets Aqua as she comes around the corner looking for him. Smart play there by Haywire. Now he just has to get Will, and he knows relatively where she's at, but he's going to go for it.
Oh, wow.
He gets it! What a clutch. Wow. Fantastic play. He's getting promoted. That's why they got rid of Mono right there.
That's exactly why.
Someone that could actually get kills.
As we let that replay play, man, oh man, it did not update the scoreboard like I thought it was going to. Come on.
It's fine. I'll keep the folks at home apprised. It is 1-1.
Oh, it is 1-1. I put it 2-2 or 2-0. My bad.
You don't even have to do math. You just press buttons.
I know, and
do
the
the math
buttons ain't
for you.
working. That's the problem.
That's fair. That's fair.
How are you doing today, Trip? While I
I'm
sit here
doing
and
good.
fumble with
I
the
did a
words.
whole little round island trip today with some friends. You know, met some new people. Showed them my favorite drinking spots.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Yeah. Had some of the best food. I've been to this place probably like 13 times this year, and I've never eaten there until today. I always just go up for the views. It's got caves. It's on the cliffside. I just go up and relax, you know, stare out at the water, have an existential midlife crisis, and then come home. But this time I decided to eat instead of having a crisis.
Eat
You know,
instead of the
you gotta change it
crisis?
up every so often.
Right,
Instead of, well, what the crisis still might happen, but
I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
I still got 2 hours left in the day, so you know, it could happen.
I mean, mine typically happens within the last like 30 minutes, right before I'm getting ready to go sleep. I get
When you lay
all
down and you look at the ceiling and you go, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, I sit there and just ponder. However, I've reset on the phone and on
Still
the
broken?
app. Yep.
It's fine.
It looks good on my phone, touch portal, but however OBS.
Is there smoke on the ground?
But we are at a 1-1 Dark Matter versus Mayhem here on Map 1, Season 1 of IVRL, Week 12.
Watch out for
The
C4.
Yeehaw cast in full effect. We've got the
Yeehaw cat.
we got the red, white, and blue coming out from Trip, the camo and bibs coming out from Lambo, and all the smoke in the world coming out from Dark Matter. Ramen finding Cappy. Haywire going to rotate and find Ramen. Dr. Aqua finding James. Zucchini finding Zolar. Will finding Wookie. Haywire finding Aqua. Now down to a 3v1. Haywire, all that's left for this defense. May run into the fire, and he does.
Oh,
Might get a
no.
little hurt. Will find Will. Matt and Zucchini.
He didn't. He didn't go full barbecue.
40 seconds in, and we are down to 3 people left. Matt finding Haywire. God.
I just want to know what his heart rate was there at the end. Ramen's playing super aggressively too. He's getting up in there real quick.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was. But Haywire holding it down at 6-2. Yeah, still nothing. You dirty.
You gotta open the touch portal.
Okay.
Go to plugins.
Mm-hmm.
Go to
Connect
advanced OBS thingy-mabob in the drop down. I forget what it's called. I don't have my touch portal open. The settings, plugins.
Plugins. And
There should be a drop down there.
yeah.
Click on that, and then hit stop, and then hit start again.
Oh.
See if it works.
Stop.
See if
Start.
that fixed it.
Save. Minimize. Restart. Oh, you are such a genius, Trip.
I'm a wizard, Harry.
He is a wizard, Harry. Goodness gracious. The redneckery from Lambowski is not what gets these casts taken care of and sound. It's going to be Trip and Etch and all of them from the back end. But obviously Tripp is here on the front end, putting his pretty little tanned face up on the front big screen here. But
I look fabulous.
yes, you do. Yes, you do. We'll continue to model ourselves as the rounds go on. But thankfully, we are now in full effect. Cam's running, scoreboard up and going, and Mike's.
Oh my God. They all need to get shot. That's all I'm saying. They all need to get shot.
Oh my gosh.
Rahman putting smokes up to cover the cross towards the tunnel exit. Not sure if that's exactly where he wanted them. Rahman looking to redirect those smokes, I think. He's looking for him. Or maybe he's just hiding in them. Not sure if he can't find. No, he's just hiding there. He's just waiting. Will also up pretty aggressive. We're just waiting, hearing those footsteps from Cappy. Oh, Ryan once again with a push gets Solar Bob, and he's moving up. He's in the diamond, in the triangle. He's swinging back around. He finds Capitano. He's looking for Wookiee. He gets Wookiee. James finally ends his reign of terror.
Before, however, giving Dark Matter the current lead in the round here, 3-2, down to James Boak and Haywire Bubble. Will and Dr. Aqua and Matt once again left on the defense. But we seen Haywire take out this three-man team by himself earlier.
Haywire, newest MVP for Mayhem.
Coming up on 4 minutes left. We'll see if James and Haywire tend to use up the rest of this time. James may be looking for utility, getting me stuck in a wall at the same time. Flash out. We'll find Will. James finding Will shortly after.
Let's follow up on the flash. We've been seeing a lot. Oh, Matt downs James. Is he going to call for the res? Haywire checked his tablet. He knows that there's a res needed.
Doesn't appear Matt will go be looking for the possible revive.
Oh, but the smoke definitely going to give away that this is going to be a res.
Yeah, it's going to need to happen.
Good placement, though.
It's going to need to happen fast.
Great placement.
And it does. Haywire doing very well here on map 1 with his new team.
I feel like maybe he's played with them before.
I'd say he probably has. Shoot. They'd probably practice him once or twice.
I don't know. I like to put people straight into matches to see how they do.
I mean, you got to throw them in the fire at some point, right? Molly's.
Exactly.
Oh, right side.
James win this.
Now,
Takes
we
care
will.
of the revenge on Matt Outdoors. Matt was not ready for James to be peeking through that tiny little tiny little lane of yellow room there, the doorway, I believe.
Now, Dr. Aquafighter is surrounded, getting pinched from both sides, and not a whole lot of ways to look both ways. Oh, yep, that laser might have caught her.
Almost found Doctor.
James is just waiting.
James shooting Doctor. She's doing
Who's
well
gonna
to
see who
rotate,
plays?
make sure nobody's at least creeping up on her, but unfortunately she can't see the one person that is creeping. I think may have given off an audible cue there, though. Oh, the trade.
The trade.
But as expected, it's going to be a tightly contested matchup, as the first 4 rounds have shown.
Let's look at these kill feeds here. We've got Dr. Aquafighter with 5 and 3, and Ramen with 5 and 3. Although to me, it seems like Ramen's got a lot more kills than Aqua. So I'm surprised that they're at the same kill feed. And over on the Mayhem side, let's talk about Haywire. 6 and 2, lead scorer for the Mayhemians.
As well as being
Excellent
a team
new
player,
pickup.
getting the revive. And as you said, so far doing very well, not just killing, but utility throws, making sure they're moving tactically, taking care of, even taking care of that 3-1 round by himself. It's just a very good round so far, very good map so far out of Haywire Bubble. We'll see how if they can keep it coming.
Woo! That's got some bite to it.
They didn't catch you. I was over there on the.
Oh man!
I was over there. You got to do it again. That's all.
You're just trying to get me. You're just trying to get me hammered.
What are you drinking over our trip?
My friend is Johnny Walker Black. Keep walking. The 200-year limited edition.
Keep walking, he says. These boots are made for walking, and that's what he's not doing. He's sitting and drinking.
Straight out of the bottle like a heathen.
Like a heathen, because yeehaw, brother.
Don't have any cups.
I had planned to have my cup have a piece of tape with 3 X's written out on it, and then I realized that the tape was green.
Somebody only has chroma tape.
Chroma tape.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. Nothing's wrong with me now, though, as we get in here to round number 5. Dark Matter, Mayhem tied up 2-2. First utilities, once again, from Dark Matter. Tons and tons of smoke.
You think they practice those? I think they practice those.
I'd say so.
I'd say so. Will running up strong. She's really got a piece. She's up there. She's looking. Ooh, Haywire might see her feet. Might see the feet. No, but Matt comes around the corner. He goes down to Haywire. Haywire's on the radio. Will misses the shots, but doesn't see the rotation. Zucchini also killed somebody over on the other side. Aqua is up in the diamond, and Solar and Wookiee, last 2 Mayhemians alive. Oh, and we moved objectives to propane.
The current defense right now for where this offense is set up, I like it. I think Mayhem's got a pretty good, solid chance between Solar and Wookiee of being able to hold this 3-person push out of Will, Aqua, and Zook. But they've got 5 minutes, plenty of time, so we'll see.
Wookiee just lobbing nades at objective. Just out of nowhere from downtown. All right, Solar's looking for Will on the south side. He's coming around. He doesn't hear the footsteps. Ooh, gets her, but she's still alive. Wookiee gets one on the rotation for the res. Now Zucky's all alone. There's no one here beside me. My troubles have all gone. Wookiee doesn't know he's alive, last one alive yet. He's making call-outs to himself.
Oh, very close Wookiee was from death, allowing Zook to get the revive on Will. Now facing 2 members of Dark.
I got 2.
Finding Will.
Oh, but he's coming around the south side and gets one. Now it's all up to Zucky. He hasn't been hit yet.
All up to Zucky.
Oh, Zucky didn't shoot him in the butt.
I don't know.
He saw him. He knows he's there. He knows he's there. Oh, but Wookiee's looking under the door. Just not looking in the right spot. Zucky's going to get him.
I have to say I was rooting for Zuck in the end because he displayed the good sportsmanship of not shooting the clipping defender.
That he did. I am getting information from chat now.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to pause everything.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to have to wish Matt a It's going to be a tight match. What do you think we're going to see for map number 2?
What map am I thinking on map number 2? What was the bands again?
Bizarre? I'm thinking Bizarre.
You think it's Bizarre, huh? We've got...
It's Mayhem choice. Oh, wait. Is Subway in the running? It's going to be Subway. It's obviously going to be Subway.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subway
Cool.
was not banned, right?
Yeah, it was not. Abandoned,
Right.
Downfall, USS Quest, and Shipyard. The long ones and the ships.
I will bet 2,100 channel points, which is all I have right now.
Is that right?
That we see Subway.
I actually won some earlier in the beginner's boss fight cast with Lampy earlier, so I might actually have some to bet against that as well. Oh, we'll get back into the scoreboard off. What am I thinking? We're getting back into round number 6. Mayhem back on the offense.
Hey, if Cappy doesn't get too aggressive in that center one, I don't think it's centers. They won't come through that green thing again and shoot you guys both in the back.
Yeah.
I'm going this
Man,
way.
he moves pretty fast for a 50-year-old. Defense here setting up. Right, where'd they go? Oh, there he is. A little bit held back defense, and Mayhem obviously waiting for Ramen to just stick his head out so they can take it off.
At this point, they probably are expecting Ramen to get pushy as he has been for the last 5 rounds. But this really is a dark matter map. Like, I see them always playing cargo. They are really well practiced on it. I'm surprised to see that Mayhem actually opted to not ban this for one of their bans. Unless they just feel more comfortable in cargo too, I guess. I don't know.
That's 2 over by 1, 2.
I'm always interested.
Yeah, I feel like
to
there might be a
see
little bit more.
Good.
Oof.
James finding Ramen, taking out that
Ooh,
little sneaky spearhead that has been that dark matter defense.
They're calling him by name, but they're calling him by the wrong names. They said that Matt's dead. That is not Matt. That is Ramen.
Don't come in here, Wookie. I'm holding the line.
Oh shit. Well,
Wait.
I'm at barrels.
But I am always interested in what teams bring to the table in terms of why and how they choose their bans. Do they go for opposite team strength, or do they do like opposite team confusion? What tactics?
I think it really depends on how much of a difference you feel like you have in your skill level. Ooh, Haywire goes down to Will on the long peak from the tunnel, and now the rotations are happening. Rizuki's looking for some refrags, almost gets Solar Bob, but a C4 gets him instead. Rizuki gets another peek in the other direction. Swings out, finishes off Solar. Now Cappy's looking for him. Cappy does get him. Cappy's moving up onto Will. He knows exactly where Aqua is. Gets the shots. Will comes around the corner, gets him from behind. And now it's all up to James. Will and Matt, last 2 alive. These nades from Matt just raining down on. He's like, I'm just gonna stand in this corner and start throwing stuff. Give me everything I can throw. I'm gonna see knives and guns start coming out next. He's like, I ran out of nades. James got a tall order. I feel like it's a tunnel or a center.
Yeah, I was about to say that he's going to have to rotate and not go anywhere near this OBJ. I don't think he's going to end up capping this. He's going to have to settle for the 2 picks. James still unaware that he's by himself.
Uh-huh.
Shoot that.
Come on, JB.
Dead.
Oh, now he knows he's all
He
alone.
does.
So, looking over at our predictions for map number 1, it looks like Mayhem 64% favored.
You said Mayhem was 64% favored?
Mayhem is favored, yes.
Nice.
2,400 channel points on them and only 1,300 channel points on Mayhem, or Dark Matter.
Dang.
Our very own Lamp voting for Dark Matter with 1,000 channel points.
Big spender, huh?
Hey, did the stream go offline? Cause
Shouldn't have.
uh,
It's No, looking for some reason it's red on my side. Is it lagging?
It's offline for me.
Really? It's still going on my side.
Hit that start recording button, just in case we catch anything. Yo, who dat?
Lamp.
What happened?
Stream died. I don't know. I just saw it die.
Is it back up?
He says it's still going on his
Yeah,
end. It's coming back up. Yeah, we're back up.
Okay, I was about to say. I have no idea.
We're back, folks.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had a quick.
I don't know how much, Mitch. I sung Country Roads in its entirety. James is still rotating. He's got 30 seconds left. 2 members to find. And I don't think he's going to find Matt and Will. I just don't see that swing happening. But he could probably find 1. 20, 2, 20, 19, 18. Oh, there he goes. He gets 1. 17 seconds. And I think he's blind. He's going to run for it. He's going for and he goes for the shoot. And he gets the kill. Mayhem tied up.
Goodness. What a play by James.
Used all the time he had.
Pretty much. I
10
apologize
seconds
for the technical delay there, but we got you back just in time to see James clutch that out, taking out Will and Matt, tying this up 3-3. This is a barn burner. This is a hootenanny. This is a hoedown. This is a yeehaw matchup of the game.
Hold down, throw down.
Man, that was a good. I mean, we called it.
I like
in a sense.
hootenanny. Let's go with hootenanny.
But I said it's a hoedown. I said it's a hoedown. Hootenanny, hoedown, hootenanny.
We're moving to now. Where are we going? We're going to that new objective.
Where are we going?
What do we call this objective?
The
Do we have a
the
name
open.
for it? What's it? The new one? I mean, pallets? It's pallets, right? The pallets objective? Yeah, we'll call
sure.
it pallets. Pipes,
not?
pallets? I don't know.
I call
The one
it
that gets
the
capped
open.
on?
You say this gets capped on. I say it doesn't. Like,
Man,
think
I love running up and capping this one.
it's just so.
There's
out
just
in
so
the
much
open.
confusion, and everyone's always looking for someone to be coming like out of those doors. And if you get past them, they're not looking at objective, right? They're looking at the center. They're looking at like the doors on 2 and 3.
Yep.
Just a little bit of confusion is all it takes. A little bit pre-fire, a little bit just confuse them.
We'll see if anybody's paying attention to what you got to say. We'll see if Dark Matter takes care of it here on their first attempt, or if Mayhem holds it down and they'll take care of the next one. I was waiting for.
Alrighty.
I was waiting for some kind of Dark Matter Nemo call out again.
Mine.
Smokes out from James. Smokes out from Dark Matter. As always, Ramen pushing up immediately. Got to find Capitano.
Cappy, they got Cappy.
Haywire getting the refrag.
Ramen got a nade off, but he went down. The smokes are on objective. James on objective. James
Yeah,
is
smokes.
trying to get all these smokes out of here. He's trying to
Haywire
redirect
almost
it.
finds Doctor. Zucchini finding Solar. James getting the refrag. Solar
James
downing
gets him.
Aqua. Man, oh man.
James gets Matt after Matt gets Haywire.
Hayfire.
Objective has been protected. Now Aqua comes around. She gets James. Now she's going for the objective.
Wookie.
Wookie blows her up. Beautiful kill.
However,
Right on her face. Yeah, shoot those bodies. War crime it up, Wookie. Yeah.
a minute in, we're down to a 1v1.
Oh, Wookie was.
Almost stepping
Not
out
mag
in front of
dumping the bodies. Wookie has now blown through 2 magazines just trying to confirm bodies. And he makes it across where Will was looking while she wasn't
Not
looking
gonna happen
there.
again.
But he's
Oh,
gonna
it
cross
is.
back over. Oh. Did he see that? He saw it. He saw it. The nade comes out. Will saw it too, though, the rotation. Oh, nade was beautiful.
It was close.
Right where it wanted to go.
Will
Oh!
through the door, finding Wookie, putting it up.
Oh
I
boy.
don't blame you. I would feel the exact same way, Will. I would feel the exact same way. Goodness gracious, these kill feeds coming out are looking pretty good. Everything's kind of spread out now. Nobody really taking over besides James now in the double-digit mark on kills at 10.
Yeah, James bypassing Haywire is the MVP.
So far, there's still plenty of onward
So
left. But
I mean, there was 4.5 minutes left in that round. There's all kinds of time.
all kinds of time.
I mean, we could have had a little hoedown of our own in the center there. They could have sang Kumbaya,
thought it was
had a
a
little
hoot, Manny.
campfire. What is this? Oh, my God. Lamp, come get your boy.
Hoot nanny. It's a hoot nanny, I say. Shit.
Hoot nanny.
I hardly know her.
They're hooting and hollering.
Hooting and hollering. So I'm from a holler. Literally. All right, we are back. Apologize, everybody. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. OBS just decided to drop out of nowhere. We'll sell my P, taking James and Solar Bob.
There is a lot of aggression in this one little tiny spot on the map. Capitano goes down. Dark Matter cleans up map number 1. 5-4. Taking map 1.
Got it fixed. Yeah. Again, apologize for what happened. We are back. Dark Matter taking map number 1 as Triff was giving us there, 5-4, in pretty convincing fashion there in the last remaining round. Everything happening within a minute 20 of us popping off, but pretty good map.
I feel like they might have lost. If they lost 6 minutes, they would have missed the previous round.
Oh,
but
yeah. They would have.
it's okay. People died. Some people
we'll give
died.
them a little update. We've got Zucchini and We'll Sell My P in the kill leaders on Dark Matter. Zucchini being double digits. And Haywire and James. Haywire over there with 11. James over there with 12. And we are going to Snow Peak.
What?
Yeah, surprisingly.
That ain't right. They
Yeah.
should be on Subway. Look, there had to have been some bribery here because I know that Mayhem wants to play Subway.
Hey, I don't know. I'm here for it, though. I am here for it.
Fine, we'll go to Snow Peak, I guess.
I guess, shoot.
If I have to.
Alright, now I gotta get touchpad back. My phone working.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
Am I on camera right now?
You are.
Oh, we're just gonna get another look at this outfit. That's what I'm really here for.
That's all you're here for.
That's all I'm here for. I'll just do the whole cast standing back here. We'll just I can just watch the screen and make call outs. It's all good.
Yeah.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Hate us because they ain't us.
Hate us because they ain't us.
So we are on Snow Peak, Dark Matter, and Mayhem. You've seen the red, white, and blue. They hate us because they ain't us. Tank top from Aviators himself, Trip, the third nip. I'm rocking the camo hat there, you know, and I'm rocking my bibs.
Oh, we're gonna see the bibs? Oh yeah. Work it, Lambo.
Alright. Yeah. Not entirely sure what happened to the old OBS. If I can talk to it and caress it and let him know. that
Make
it's
sweet
okay.
love to it.
Hey, don't do that to me again. Poop. Like a horse pucky. Not sure. Maybe it's the double cam. I don't know.
Maybe. I think it's just too much freedom.
Too much freedom. That is too much.
It's
for
too
Twitch
much freedom.
to handle. Too much for old Twitchy to handle. Unfortunately.
Twitch is censoring us.
That's what it is. Said, hey, we don't like that over there.
So Lambo, when are you getting that hot tub set up so we can do this hot tub cast?
I unfortunately did not get any beeps for round 1 starting on map 2, but
It just started.
yeah, I know. Did you get the beeps of
Wait,
it
just-
like starting up though?
I did not actually. You're right. I just got the obnoxiously loud music.
I'll let you know if I see him.
Yeah. Yeah.
To start on though.
A North Hangar.
North Hangar, and a quick spawn from Mayhem actually. Let's get over to him.
It's like that,
I'm gonna be opting for actually switch to the wrong people. James Boak, Haywire, and Solar outside. So rotating back. I'm
What is happening here? Ramen and Zucky and Matt all pushing north.
only 2 members of Dark Matter staying on Solar, and Zucchini gonna trade. Zucchini down though. Matt and Ramen rotating away, not looking to get the revive.
Ignoring him. Like, we don't need him.
Matt gonna be waiting for James. A trade.
Still no res for poor Zucky. Ramen going for it now. He's going. Oh, he's looking the wrong way. Haywire's probably hurt him.
I would have thought so.
I would have thought so too. What is Ramen doing?
Hopefully for Zucchini's sake, he is gonna go for this.
Oh, finally the res.
But as there might be a little bit of a delay in action there. I don't have a hot tub. If you want to send me some
We'll
shekels
work
for
on
a hot
that.
tub.
We'll get you that IVRL branded hot tub.
Oh, watching it for like a minute.
One of them inflatable ones, so you could put it right there in your computer room.
I did at one point do a kitty tub like hot tub stream for me. I was like in a sleeveless flannel and socks and stupid.
I think
It
they're
was
pushing one
it
up
was a
here.
fun time.
Possible.
So Mayhem rotating all the way around. Pull up the big overhead map. They're in the Twin Hangars south, and they left Haywire all alone up in the warehouse. Zucchini and Ramen just looking around, trying to figure out where everybody went. They just want to have fun. They just want to play. Just want to say hi, give you a hug. I feel like at this point they have to know that they didn't come, or then they're not coming from that way.
I think they might have rotated through tunnels because there are only 2 here. I ran around the other side.
Oh right, I gotta put that prediction in. Who won map number 1? That was Dark Matter.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
The underdog, according to the channel points.
In my head, that was their map pick. I was kind of holding Mayhem as the slight underdog. Personally, though, only IMO. You know what I'm saying?
About.
I figured Dark Matter.
Where's that
They
bunker?
felt confident on their map pick, and I mean they should have been. They took it 5-4. It was probably a lot closer than they wanted it to be, but again, they did take it. So here in the IVRL, every round matters. They are only currently up 1 round.
1 point.
And
Yeah.
The fate of their win or loss or tie is really, I mean, it no longer worries about cargo. It's all about Snow Peak. And I was wondering, do you think they're surprised that they're on Snow Peak? Do you think they were expecting Subway?
Yeah, I feel like they were. I feel like maybe that's why they, change it up, force them into something that they weren't really expecting.
I believe it was, shoot. Yeah, it was yesterday that me and Lampy was able to watch Vikings versus Team K here on Snow Peak. And I watched Imbo. His play with the drone on Snow Peak was absolutely phenomenal.
-1 on complete fucking.
Wookie and Capitano.
Cappy and Wookie taking a long time to get around this lake, and they're going to be forced to push this pretty quickly. They got 1:24 left on the clock. 2 unknowns, 2 possible known locations.
There's only 2 people really realistically close enough to the OBJ to stop any significant push.
Oh,
from
Wookie with
Cappy
the up.
Rookie.
He's shooting it straight up. Where's it going to hit?
Pretty
Oh,
close
I
to
didn't
Will.
catch you, buddy. Man. And now they're both blind. And they're blind again. It's just burning time. Oh, maybe they're not blind.
I saw a second utility come out from Wookie. I'm guessing the pin didn't come off of it.
Oh, C4 goes off. Wookie does get the confirm, but he's getting a shot from far away. He's going to be looking up high, and Aqua is right there. And he goes down. 20 seconds left on the clock. Dark Matter still had 2 alive on the field.
Dark Matter taking this lead and kind of expanding a little bit, 6-4 now. So I was surprised with how that ended up going about because in my head, 2 people on that north hangar OBJ is a ballsy defense. I mean, they weren't necessarily by themselves just because they were so far up or up in that valley that they could kind of peer down into the OBJ. But I don't know.
Since we no longer play, I'm going to give you some super secret SMC strats here.
Okay.
Leave 1 person on this objective, run 3 north and 1 south. Or 3 up the hill. Or 4, if you really feel like it. So the thought process here is, so if they're up in the north spawn, you're going to overwhelm them because they're not going to all come rushing down, and they're not going to be ready for 4 dudes with rifles running up the hill at them, right? So you get the element of surprise if they have that spawn. If they don't have that spawn, you get your guys up in the, what do you call that thing? The tower, right? You get them up in the sandbags, the tower, and you have them immediately look back across the lake. And then you've got good coverage. That cross that Wookie and Cappy did can't happen, right? So you've got coverage there. You got your 1 guy on objective out in the Hescos looking out across the lake. So that between the south hangars, the twin hangars, and the south objective crossing, you just want to see if there's any movement. That's all you want to do. You want to call out any kind of movement so that the rest of your team can shift. And that's the super secret SMC strats right there. That's how we play this map. We run away from this objective.
Oh, you run away from the objective.
Ain't nobody gonna think you're not near the objective, right? They're all gonna be looking there, and if you come around, shoot them from behind.
I understand. Hey, it obviously has worked for quite a while for y'all, so here,
No strats, best strats.
Who am I to judge, Trip? But you heard it here first. Why is SMC not spot?
No, that's not a good spot.
What's the pressure into here?
The captain might be a drunk. I think I've heard that. I think I've heard that coming around.
Again, I'm not here to judge. Captain, they found Ramen. Doctor getting taken by Cappy as well.
Aqua, and looking for Zucky as well. They know he's there, but they can't do anything about it. Capitano's the man with the plan. Zucky's out in the open. Capitano has the advantage, but he gets taken out by a headshot.
Down to 3v4. Haywire Bubble, James, Wookie, and Solar Bob gonna hold this defensive spot down. Solar being the furthest one pushed away from the OBJ.
Do they know that Solar's there though? Has he shot yet? Because if Zucky tries to bypass him,
My guess is he's been
I
chilling.
don't think he's shot.
Yeah, I think it's been Cappy this whole time.
And there's still 3 more Mayhemians still on objective, so there's all kinds of coverage on the objective. Solar just needs to stay quiet, hang out, wait for the kills to come to him. It's like duck hunting season. Don't want to scare him until you're close enough that you can shoot him.
I don't know if it's actually been said out loud yet in terms of who or who doesn't know, but 2 members of the roster here tonight is
One's in
possible
my
future
spot.
IVRL
Back behind the
casters.
fence.
Oh, is that a oh, it's a flash. The less exciting grenade.
We'll get very close to finding James.
Apparently, I'm real loud according to chat.
Real loud, huh?
Oh, Solar's not looking that way. The cross is going to happen. Zucky and Matt up to the Heskos.
Why you gotta be so loud for? Why you gotta yell?
I can't. I only have 1 level. Okay.
Oh, all right, brother.
There's only 1 volume. Okay.
I told
and it's
that there
on.
teaching lady I only
I'm
needed 3
either on
crayons,
or off.
and it's the red, white, and blue, baby.
And I ate 2 of them. Oh, Solar, look the other way, brah. Look at the lake. Shoot him in the face. There we go. There's the kill. James gets another. Lake is cleaned up, and now Matt is all alone on the ice. Not a safe space to be. Did they check the ice? Oh boy. Oh boy.
That was pretty good.
You got a friend in me.
It was, who was it? It was Hondo asking if you would be in a Woody outfit for the Yeehaw cast.
I only on my OnlyFans.
You heard it here first. Trip shows.
You
the
know,
nip
people have
on
been
OnlyFans.
dreaming about this cast. These people are weird.
Solar Bob finding Matt out.
Solar shoots him in the butt.
Tying it 1-1. Oh man. So people have been dreaming about this cast, huh? Are they dreaming about?
Yeah,
you,
they're weird. They're real weird.
You and your sexy attempt at Southern hospitality acts. I don't even know what we're going for here.
It's
They
not.
tell me that.
It's really. I don't know what the accent is. I just know that it pisses everyone off when I get drunk and it starts to come out. This is how I. Hey, Phonics watching from a boat. Cheers, bro.
Appreciate you. I wish I was on a boat. It'd be nice.
I'm on a boat. Yeah,
Start bobbing, getting ready for it.
this is how I grew up. I had to get learned and hide the accent. I mean, my family's from West Virginia. We're from Hinton. We're from a freaking ghost town over there. That's where we're from.
The Wonderful Wild Whites of West Virginia. You know that documentary?
Yeah.
That's my neck of the woods. I actually went to school
Yeah, okay.
with a couple of the people in that show. Unfortunately.
Well, see if you know my. Wait, are they in West Virginia or Virginia? I can't remember. West Virginia. My buddy, the Lily Farm over there, big old farm. Yeah. Everybody knows everybody. It's a great time.
It's not because we're all related either.
Well,
Some of us.
it's not. It's not all because we're all related.
Yeah, right.
Partially. And they had Bridge Day this year. Did they do Bridge Day? They cancel it.
I think they canceled it this past season, but they're going to do it this year, I think. Should be.
Bridge Day is great. You get
Oh,
catapulted
it's
off
so
the bridge with a
fun.
parachute.
It's
the
so
best.
fun. I can't say I've ever been parachuted or catapulted or anything like that, but it is a good time to go up and watch people do it.
But outside.
We are moving up to the north tunnel.
And a little bit of
Yeah,
a
that's
quick spawn, I guess.
This is not
About
north.
as quick as spawn as you can get for the Mayhemians. Whatever's.
Mayhemian Rhapsody.
As we follow
Capitano
Queen here,
panned
James
across
Buck
the
and
Ramen team.
Haywire.
Ramen did see him.
the corner. Tuck getting shots towards James. James returning fire. Nobody connecting.
One is tall.
James now has a nade. His preferred weapon of choice, the grenade. Right in that doorway. Fantastic throw. Would have definitely cleared out a normal defender. Dark Matter's too smart for that. They know when they hear that sexy Kiwi accent that they need to run for cover. Pew, 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 pew. He's low suppressed. MCX. That 300 blackout.
I enjoy the new weapon. I like that MCX a lot.
I keep forgetting that it's in there, and I have not played with it.
It's fun.
I played with it when it first came out, but like I've been playing. Like I played last week, and I just kept taking my default, my AK-5C with the hollow, my AK-12. You know,
I've been.
if it ain't broke.
Right. True that. I've been unfortunately been playing with a lot of LMG lately, just because I've been needing more bullets to
Accuracy by volume.
Yeah, exactly.
I still maintain that the best weapon to take in this game is an M16 sniper and have someone give you a drum mag.
Yeah, I could see it.
Best weapon in the game.
That's what our maniac sniper uses is ace of spades, M16 and sniper.
Do you give them drummies? Because that's really what it's all about.
C4.
It's all about them
whether-
drummies.
I use the M249, so I would not be the one giving the drummies, but Murphy does, I think.
Wookie proning his way up.
A
towards
frag
the-
out.
Flash. Solar.
Not a flash. Almost finding Solar and James. Matt Outdoors with another one. Another frag. James pushes the action, finding Matt Outdoors, Solar, and James
Pushing up.
does not go down from either frag. Very
Fuck
good
me.
tosses from Matt.
I was
But
like, oh, I hope it's not a flash. It was a
Are
frag.
you ready for this?
Yeah.
Camera 2. Beautiful shot of Wookie's butt. Look at it go. Look at him go. He's looking through that crack. I mean,
back
look
crack.
at that angle.
Look
I mean,
at
he's
that
just,
angle.
Look at that angle. The angle of that dangle, man.
That.
Cappy gets
God.
Will. Ramen pushes up and gets Wookie. Wookie can't move that fast when he's on the ground.
-1 on objective. -1 on objective. -1.
James clearing out objective. Zucky and Ramen, last two alive. The rotation's going to happen. They're going to hear the footsteps. Capitano. No. Haywire goes down. Ramen come back to objective. James doesn't connect. Capitano comes around the backside. Zucky turns around and looks. Cappy cleans it up though. He doesn't need any help.
Pretty good push there by Mayhem. I was a little lost in the sauce there between James Boak's push and Matt and his frags, and all Ramen swooping around trying to take out this pushing Mayhem push. But yeah, it's a fun round to watch, man. These rounds between Mayhem and Dark Matter all night have been fun, back and forth. Goodness, so good.
Such a good matchup.
Cappy right now. Well, Cappy and James. James is sitting at a 4-1. Cappy at a 5-2. Cappy's obviously got to beat most kills, but in terms of KD, 4-1 looks pretty good.
It does. It does. Was that the first?
Tunnel attempt.
No, was that the first non-traded round?
What do you mean? In terms of
For
like
first advantaged round? Or did Mayhem start on? They started on defense? No, they didn't. Mayhem just took 2 in a row, right? They took defense and they took offense.
yes, because Solar Bob would have got
Yeah.
They got 2 back to back. Because Solar Bob won.
I think
round.
that's the first, right? Hasn't it been back and forth the whole
Yep.
map one?
It has been. Yeah, so maybe Mayhem finally getting the shift in momentum here on their map pick. Maybe Subway is going to pay off for him.
If we can go outside, guys. We can go outside to play, guys.
What's that guy's name?
Jake that plays in
Subway,
Subway
that
cap style the most, okay, guys? So be aware of that.
Yep,
Jared from
Jared.
Subway?
Yeah, Jared from Subway. At least we don't have to deal with
He lives
him
up the
today.
street.
You said what?
He lived up the street from me in Zionsville.
Lived or lives?
I've seen lived.
Oh, okay.
I've seen his
I was about
house.
to say, I was like, I thought Homeboy was in prison. I mean, for good reasons. Good riddance, personally.
Where did you put it, Wookie? Where did you put it?
He's got
I seen
C4
him
out
throw it.
somewhere.
I seen him throw it, but where did it go? I don't see it in this hallway. Wait.
Ramen. Running
he's
up
got-
on haywire.
Got a volley. What are you gonna do with it, Wookie? No, he does have a clacker. Where did you put that C4?
Haywire, unfortunately for Mayhem, was not able to stay tucked in well enough for Ramen to not see.
Oh, I see it. There it is. Okay. Will's about to die. There it is. Zucky just a little late. Saving Will. Bowler gets Ramen on the long kill. Ooh, Cappy gets Zuck on the backside.
Not close enough, but towards Matt's direction. Oh no!
Oh,
James
no,
finding
James!
Cappy.
No replay. At least he's gonna get solar with the res. Oh, he's gonna try. There it is. Matt creeping around that corner. James did see him. Mayhem pulling away.
Yes, they are sitting here at a 7-6 now. I'm telling you, I think the move, whoever made this decision for Snow Peak instead of Subway, whoever's made this confusion move tactic against Dark Matter is currently paying off.
Well, let's be honest. It's not that hard to confuse dark matter.
Hey, I felt like they were a pretty good team. Shoot, bruh. But we are now heading out to that impenetrable, squared off. What do you want to call this? The
shack.
The shack.
Shack
OJ.
objective.
Yeah. The southeast shack objective, just outside of the garage. It's a fun one. It can lead to some spicy stuff, especially you got people that'll tend to hide in the shack, even though it's very risky because that entire shack is just completely wall bangable.
It is completely wall bangable, and I think it's even penetrable from both sides, right? So, like, if you're standing behind it, and I started shooting it through Hesco's, does it clear both sides?
As long
Or
as you
will
don't
that
hit
stop
as long as you don't hit the barrels and the sandbags, I'm pretty certain
Nah,
that can go right.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Light it
we're
up with some
getting the,
PKM fire or
oh,
some
yeah.
M249 fire.
Yeah.
Pop,
The
pop.
moment
One
in
need.
fun
We should
offense, the
really,
moment I
we should
see
really
that
scrim
box,
this map,
I'm
boss.
pretty much just shooting
Matt, you want it?
Yeah.
We should.
Without fighting.
Don't push it too much. Just push.
You're gonna hide in there. Hide prone. Get it down low.
hide prone, definitely behind
Hey,
2 or 3 of those barrels if possible.
Like all
It's
the
gonna be southeast spawn. Nope, that's southwest spawn for the Mayhemians, and it looks like they're gonna spread out a little bit.
well,
Who is that that's coming over here to check the spawn? Matt. Turn over here.
Gonna have C4, but I think Solar and Cappy might have seen the toss. Yeah, I believe it's Solar just now.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll get the auto Mayhem is in the southwest spawn. A frag out from Matt Outdoors almost finds Cappy from behind.
C4 still being a little bit useful as he puts a frag onto it and sets it off. Just remember, folks, just because you disabled it doesn't mean it's gone.
Doesn't mean it can't explode.
Fragging him's the easiest way to clear him. Matt's gonna peek this corner. Solar Bob's head's gonna get shot. Nope. Solar ducks down. And the nade. The nade. Oh, that's a flash. Man, I was so excited for it. And Cappy steals Solar's kill.
You guys get him? Let me know when you get him.
Minute and a half into the round, we've only got one Dark Matter member down. And Ramen up here just standing in the open.
Not me.
Cappy gets him as well.
Fucking wall.
Not sure what the reinforcement play there was.
It's shot behind a fucking terrain, man. Hopefully, quest players are right.
Gap east of bunker. Gap east of bunker. 1 tango.
Wookie rotating around and is now in tunnels. Gonna be a big problem for
Long
Zuck and
run.
Will.
Oh
Cappy
no, Capitano!
returning the favor on James.
Turning the favor, yep. Haywire gets Will, but Zucky gets Haywire. An unfortunate turn of events with the TK there. Because Mayhem was looking at a pretty strong posture.
Yes, yes, they was.
Turn, tables, turn.
Where's Wookie though? Wookie's still in a very dangerous spot. For Zuck.
Yeah, he's going to be free and clear to come out of that garage. They've collapsed on the objective.
South looks mostly clear to the sandbags.
Aqua hiding in that shack. With concealment, not cover, folks. Learn the difference.
Tractor Aqua though, the closest. Remember, this could be worrisome to light that shack up. Is not going to have a ton of ammo in each mag. Rocking the
Kept count?
MK5C, yeah.
30 rounds. 30 rounds is enough.
But between him and Solar back there with the what is it, the L86SW, if I'm remembering the name or the letters and numbers in the right correct order, but gonna have a bigger mag for that shack to take care of.
Gunshots from Zucchini.
It's left.
That call out gonna make Aqua look that way because Cappy's just waiting for it now. He's just waiting. Oh, Cappy. No, he was on his tablet.
Just me and you left.
Oh, just missing Wookie there with that 203, trying to get it in the window. They're now lighting up that building. Minute 15 left. 2 on 2. Two on 1. Zucchini gets Wookie. It's all up to Solar Bob. Definitely knows where Aqua is. Pretty sure you can hear the callouts. Oh, and the trade.
Trade word is as trade word does.
Trade word. Start our own little Jason Bourne program. We'll call it Tradestone. I need another beer.
Oh, I had my dang pen in my bib pocket this whole time, and I completely forgot where it was.
Ah.
Trying to make sure.
Oh man, it's so much easier to see without these shades on.
I
my
imagine
God.
it is.
Oh my God,
Golly,
daylight
brother.
in here.
Ooh, shoo. I was trying to make sure I don't give any freebies out. I'm only using one strap here on my bib, so I was trying to make sure I didn't shut the nip. I've only got two. I don't pay, I don't charge for that third one. I mean, I thought for a second there Mayhem was going to end up taking that round. But Capitano just had to get revenge.
Well, even he looked away. He looked at Solar after somebody shot at Solar, and then checked his tablet and died while he was doing that. But that seems like a lot of excessive processes when you had gun on target waiting for someone to peek a window. I don't know.
Yep. No,
I'm not sure. I don't know if he felt like he lost his teammate or what.
Maybe so. It's always a challenging thing when you are not you're not holding the controller and you are the controller. I can't just stress how much
They're all the same.
immersion can really what it can do to you in terms of, like you said, their psyche, what they're gonna do, what they decide they want to do, or what they would try to do. But a simple flick of the eyelids in one wrong direction can decide your fate pretty quickly.
Pretty standard defense.
I hadn't even been checking the defense out. I was watching this approach from Dark Matter as they get mirror spawns. We've got Cappy and Solar here in the south. Haywire, James towards the north, and the Heskos and Wookie. I see Wookie playing a lot of garage defense, I think, out of Mayhem. Appears to be
He
his
likes
thing.
that. He likes that boom boom block, and I think he's using it over there somewhere. Boom boom and a barbecue.
Yeah, he's using a specialist
What do you got?
class. Does he have a?
He doesn't have a clacker.
Yeah, he does not.
What kind of weird loadout is that?
It is a weird loadout.
What's the point in taking specialist if you ain't gonna take the C4 or Molly?
We'll see if it pans out. Zuck Aqua and Ramen was hanging out with Will by herself. Lagging behind. The old man just hanging around in spawn. So forgot to take his Geritol.
Oh boy.
I'm only kidding, Matt. You look like you'd handle yourself in a bar fight.
I'm gonna wrap around.
So I'm looking to get that long-range shot towards James. Might have been seeing a head poking around through those trees. James still tucked in on the Hasco line. A lot of time passing here in round number 6 and no shots, no deaths.
Oh, here might be a death right here. Camera 2. James is laser looking for Ramen's head. Oh, Ramen didn't peek out all the way. Saved by the skin of his teeth.
Let's start getting those guys.
He's gonna peek it again. Go on, do it. Go on, get.
Come on now, get.
That's the guy on bunkers that I'm shooting at the
Looks like
sandbags.
they're all gonna attack from this angle. James sees Ramen, can't hit him. Zucky gets James with a long shot there. The res is gonna come out from Haywire.
Yeah, I'm coming. Highwire's coming. Haywire's coming. Come from the south. Stay low. And then
Oh, Ramen's pushing.
Straight away back. Go. One.
Minus one.
Danger close on me, danger close.
Zucchini, you said danger close.
Capitano goes down. These
Very
long
good shot.
shots from Zucchini.
Ramen pushing up on James. James rotated wrong side. Ramen finding James's back. Only 2 members left on Mayhem defense. Shoots out towards the OBJ from Ramen. Zook finding Wookie. Solar, Bob. All that's left. Gonna have a frag out. Not gonna land. We'll find Matt. Ramen's in the smoke. Ramen's in the smoke. Looking to cap. Ramen's pushing up.
Apple is out, but he's out of the smoke.
Find him.
Solar sees him. Solar's still alive, but he goes down to Zucky.
Man.
Zucky get an not an ace. He missed
Close.
one.
Pretty close.
4K. Not bad.
Not bad at all. And what that does is give Dark Matter the lead in the match. Currently 8-7. Man, oh man. This is a good one.
It's a knee slapper.
It's one of them there knee slappers. It's a barn burner. It's a hoedown. It's a hootenanny. It's a knee slapper. It's a what else? What we got? Thingamajig. What else we got? What we throwing out here?
What else we got?
What else we got? I don't know. Really good matchup out of IVRL Season 1, Week 12. Dark Matter versus Mayhem. Yeehaw cast. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw! I'm gonna go ride some horses this week in the ocean.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about?
We have horses here. We got horse trails and stuff.
You
But
have
they have
trails
horses.
in Barbados?
Yeah. But they have horses that you can ride out in the ocean. I'm gonna do that and get all
you're
insta
talking
pretty
about,
and
in
yeah.
water like maybe 4 feet.
no, but
deep
we
or
have
something.
like actual horse trails like in the woods.
No, I get that. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but you're talking about riding them in like 4 feet water in the beach or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That'd be peaceful.
I'm gonna wear my prettiest outfit.
You gonna have like a little tiara on and stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm still working. If anyone wants to send me a birthday girl sash, I got Dirty 30 coming up on Cinco de Mayo, and we're gonna go out. I need a tiara. I need a birthday girl sash.
A birthday girl sash.
Fine.
I'll chip in. I'll make sure you get that. Don't worry.
We're gonna have a fun time.
I don't see why we couldn't figure out how to get an IVRL Dirty 30 baby doll sash or something.
Matt with some call outs on that far. Who is that? James in the tower there, but that's not where the main approach is coming from, so I don't know if those call outs are going to be super helpful.
One's around the sniper tower bunker area. Oh, I see him.
Center north sniper tower. Got Cappy, Wookie, and Solar. Head south. Have to take care of Ramen and Zook. Well, before getting anywhere close to the OBJ, I'm sure.
Let's see, what is this approach gonna be? Get Cappy, Wookie, Solar. How are they gonna hit this? I mean, so that south side's guarded. Right, you got Zucchini on that south south holler. Oh, we can use hollers here.
Yeah, we could.
Oh
They're
boy,
in that
I'm so
south
excited.
holler.
South Holler's guarded. Zucky's putting shots through the South Holler. Those would echo like crazy.
They would.
Waking the neighbors.
Matter in hell.
There he is. Invisible walls.
round 7, sorry. Pretty well disciplined dark matter defense. Everybody's tucked in. They give Mayhem a ton of options in terms of info. I mean, all they've gotten right now is Matt Outdoors kind of just been chilling, waiting for their own little picks. Catching a glimpse on Solar.
Matt and James just exchanging rounds. I thought that those steps were penetrable. Are they not penetrable anymore?
The sniper tower steps? I reckon not.
I mean, maybe Matt just sucks because I'm seeing tracer rounds all over the place, but I feel like some of that should have hit him.
I'm not real sure. I didn't know that the steps were ever penetrable. I guess I was not in the know. Maybe finding the first kill of the round, taking Zook. So, are those confirmed at one point penetrable?
I believe they were penetrable.
Huh. I know the walls at some point was. Like the walls around
Someone
the
correct me
well,
if I'm wrong, but I believe they were penetrable. Matt moving out of his corner. Haywire's looking for him. Oh. Almost team kill. Solar peeking up in here. Ramen finds Wookie. Matt goes down to trade with Haywire. Solar gonna push up, gets the confirm. You got Ramen, you got Aqua. Where's the... Oh, there's
rotating.
Will.
Might find Ramen in the back. Will find Ramen in the back.
Nice, one more.
Rotating around the backside of the hangar. No, he's gonna go for the objective. Solar gets Will. Now it's all up to Aqua. Cappy moving into this hangar. They're inside the hangar together. They're just looking the wrong ways. Cappy gets the kill on Aqua. And Mayhem go up 4-3. I don't know if I've seen a closer match in a while.
It's been a bit. What did beginners and boss fight come down to earlier? I know that was a close one.
I was not around for that, so I don't know.
Out there.
Capitano, 11 points now. Up in those double digits. Technically 12, because he killed James.
That he did. But he did need to get his revenge. Obviously, James took care of him a little while before. Haywire, a little less action out of Haywire out here on the second map. First map, definitely the CQB style was in his favor. Really rocking my kill mode right now. Needs to find his rhythm. Doesn't have a whole ton left here on map 2, so he needs to get to working. On the other side there, 8-4 out of Zucchini, 7-6 out of Ramen. Cappy, 11-5, taking off. Bob 8-3, not bad. Just a tad bit better than they can hold it. Out. Get back into it.
Get in there. Yeah. What's the spawn? Where is the spawn? Oh, in the middle there.
Yeah.
6:38.
46-38
over there because I'm not.
Mayhem.
Yeah, just
Need to take this to win this map and a match.
Yeah, they're currently tied 8-8.
So they could still lose this one and win the next one and be good for this map. It'd still be a match tie.
Yeah, but a tie is
Well,
kind
they
of
should finish it now.
kissing
Just
your
finish it.
cousin, right? Nobody really wins.
I mean, sure.
Oh shoot. A little bit more pushed out defense here from Mayhem compared to the Dark Matter one, but somewhat similar, I guess. I mean, Wookie and Cappy was kind of in a ramen-esque position, just like I said, a little farther pushed out. But in terms of their surrounding style of the OBJ, pretty similar. Matt Ramen will.
Either way, he's waiting for us there.
Hanging out towards bunker now. Ramen going off on his lonesome.
All by myself.
Hey man, if you're gonna do it, you gotta sell it. You know, you gotta really get in there.
I don't want to hurt the folks at home, okay?
Oh, they'll be alright. They'll be alright.
There is zero comp on this mic right now. I did not set up my filters. They just get pure, unadulterated trip raw into their eardrums.
Oh goodness.
That's really not safe for anyone.
From
There's a party going on in this bunker here. Like, they're just all hanging out. Oh, Ramen's back.
Selling them.
Behind that sandbag, behind that sandbag, behind that sandbag.
Ramen is back. Ramen rotated away looking
Okay.
for
I'm
any
gonna move back.
possible flanker. I guess they didn't find any. Shots, but still no deaths
Nice
here
job,
on
Zach.
round number 8.
Right, we can't be here forever. We gotta do something.
Look at that quick math, guys. I could see the wheels turning.
Definitely hear him.
You know when you start talking and then you're like, I have to figure out the end of the sentence? That's what was happening right there, man.
Yeah,
Like-
you're not wrong at all.
I
looked up,
know what I
I'm
want to
like,
say.
4 plus 3. What am that? What's after that? 8. Yeah, round number 8. Awesome. As Ramen starts getting pushed up towards Haywire bubble. Haywire in Matt's position. Wow. This 4 dark matter push. Very close to Haywire. Haywire's going to have a lot to deal with here very shortly. No longer.
Get him.
Plenty of smokes, plenty of flashes coming out from this lakeside push. Dark matter.
Ramen's coming around the backside for Solar. Bob Solar's going to see him. Nope. Ramen takes him down.
I'm on you. I'm on you.
Cappy and Wookie.
Down. Matt hanging out towards what is this, northeast side. Can't find him looking only downing.
Oh, nade. James nade
Careful.
up. James nade up.
Almost found
Oh,
Ramen.
what?
Plenty of smokes coming out onto the OBJ. Ramen rotating behind. I think seen Cappy. We'll find James from behind just shortly.
Good shit.
Dr. Aqua finds Capitano. Tying this up. Another round 9 decider here in the Yeehaw cast between Dark Matter versus Mayhem. This is awesome.
Yeehaw!
But again, it's like kissing your cousin. I don't want to see it die. Don't want to see it.
So what? So Mayhem has to get a cap here? Is that what we're saying? You want a cap from Mayhem on the warehouse objective? That's what you want?
It would either have to be that or
Has to be. Oh well, if you want Dark Matter to win, do you want Dark Matter to win, Lambo?
I
You
don't,
want-
really care who, I don't really care who wins. I just don't want to. I don't want to see it tied personally. I didn't grow up a soccer fan. I know it's the world's greatest game or the most popular game or whatever, but I just, as I say, it's like kissing cousins. Nobody wins.
You keep saying kissing cousins. I feel like
It's a
you're trying
Yeehaw
to-
cast. I'm trying to make like
You got.
country
you got-
jokes, bro. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any sisters.
If you if you play the cast backwards, it becomes a country song. Right?
Does it?
That's how that works. I don't know.
I could sing you one.
You get your teammate back, get your captain back, all those team kills.
Exactly. Right. But What? All right. So round 9, we finally get the warehouse OBJ, but we only get it for 1 round. We're gonna see a defensive hold or an amazing offensive push.
I'm gonna give it to Mayhem. I'm voting Mayhem here.
Okay. You heard it here. The third.
You could watch
the
it
third
from
nip.
like. Anyway,
I think taking this is easier than defending it.
I need you watching
I will
that
give
door.
you that. Yeah.
You can get up onto
It sucks
here,
to
by the way,
wait
just
for
by
it to
walking
come
up
out.
here. That might help you a little bit.
You Wookie?
We'll
Oh,
have to
yeah.
wait for
Using
too
MCX.
long. At max, we'll have to wait about 550. About 350.
I'm so confused.
What?
Will and Ramen arguing about where C4 should go.
Douche.
I switched to Will just in time to hear constantly.
I think. I don't fucking know. Yeah, you watch that door. I'll watch this one.
Capitano and Wookie down south by themselves.
You want to go through the back to the garage?
Man, probably gonna try to maybe take some attention and put it on this 3-man push and allow the 2-man to get in there a little bit more sneakily, quieter. But again, I mean, they've really not been doing much gun talk anytime soon in the first 2 minutes of this round, anyways.
It's a very tense round. I mean, once you clear the outside, and you know people aren't hanging out ready to shoot you in the face outside the warehouse, then you can get a pretty good coverage, and you just gotta do a breach, you know?
Yeah.
Get some flashbangs in there.
Oh man, at the same time and rush.
Get them in. You gotta get them in like deep angle,
Yeah.
right? You can't just like toss it in the door. You gotta
No.
throw one. Like you need 2 people stacked opposite sides. Throw one deep left, throw one deep right, and then just bust in there and hope and pray. Say, please don't shoot me.
Right.
If you, I hear if you say knock knock housekeeping, then you have 13 more seconds of life on an average.
I'll have to try that.
That's stats that I've been told.
I'll have to try that.
Oh!
Find Cappy.
Back
The
up, back up,
C4 and then the
Double confirmed.
Jesus.
Well, yeah, I guess. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Also,
Yeah,
if you watch the
I
cast, I
guess.
called you a douche. I'm sorry.
I'm under a lot of pressure here.
Shush. Shush.
Well, at least she apologized for it. Got the Mayhem holding pattern as they start to look.
I know what that
close to this warehouse. OBJ looking by himself now. The tunnel's just a smidge away from Capitano's dead body.
I think the tunnels are my least favorite way to attack this. One, because I get lost
Yeah.
all
We
the
had
time.
a dark.
I'm running, and then I come out, and I'm in the U tunnel looking at the lake. And I'm like, damn, this isn't where I wanted to be. Who'd we lose?
We had a Dr. Aqua drop, so unfortunately for
no.
dark matter, they allowed it to tie up. Allowed it. I mean, they really didn't do anything. Obviously, the internet had everything to do with it. But unfortunate for them, tied up 4-4, and not a shot from Mayhem doing it.
The wrong type.
One left to you, Zook.
Less than 2 minutes.
I like how Aqua rejoined. Even though it's the last
Oh, yeah, I
round.
know. Has to at least watch it, right? Man, That's very
lost
disheartening
somebody?
for the player. I
Minute
would be
30.
upset.
Aqua, I think, disconnected.
They're just now noticing that Aqua dropped.
Yep.
Watch your door. Watch your door.
Let's see what's going on with Mayhem.
I just don't have it now.
Close outside.
15.
Wire. Solar. James. Still in this holding pattern. Working their way in.
I mean,
A
one.
minute left.
One behind me in the tunnels.
Drag out. Gonna take care of
Footsteps
the C4.
all around. Suppressing fire from Solar Bob. Smoke on the door. Haywire. Oh, Ramen goes outside, getting aggressive, and gets Haywire. Solar Bob gets him. It's a 3-on-3.
30
No,
seconds
3 on.
left.
Yep, 3-on-3. They need to get in there.
So can he find
James goes down as he comes through the door. Wookiee's putting shots out, trying to bait Matt. Solar frags in the door. Matt gets Wookie. Solar needs to get inside. He's got 15 seconds left.
Solar is in the building.
He's
10
blind.
seconds.
8 seconds, talk. Nice.
Man. Oh, man.
Go. Let's go. There, we had no business. What are you
We had no business. None.
Will having a good time there at the end of the round.
Wow, what a matchup.
Yes, it was. I'm so glad we picked this one. This was a good match. Oh my God, all the way down to the last round 9 between map number 1 and map number 2. But no, Dark Matter taking both of them 5-4, 5-4. Goodness gracious. But Dark Matter coming out on top. Mayhem put a hell of a fight. Put up a hell of a fight. They were in it to win it, but unfortunately they could not. And Dark Matter pulled through. What do you think gave him the edge?
Chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos always wins
Yeah.
in combat.
Ramen's pushy tactics and just random out flanks. It worked out for him. It really did. But yeah, good
It's a
times.
fantastic end of the week.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
I couldn't have asked for a better matchup.
No, couldn't have. Yeehaw cast for Dark Matter Mayhem Season 1, Week 12, IVRL. Good times, good times. I'm trying to think. What is today? Sunday? Okay, so we'll have new
Yeah, it's
matches
Sunday.
out tomorrow. We'll get into Week 13, huh? So this is the end of Week 12. Week 12 as we know it. Right? There's not any like late night matches going on, are we?
I think so. I think this. Let's see. I think this was the last one. Let me take a look at the old schedule. Oh, that's today. There are no more upcoming matches.
Cool. All right, so
They are done.
you did see it. Yeehaw cast is the last Week 12 cast of Season 1 IVRL. When we come back, it will be Week 13, and we'll see what it shows for IVRL. We'll see what matches come out. We'll see if there's any of them good enough to compete with Mayhem versus Dark Matter on Week 12. This was a good one. It was a barn burner.
What were these
Who
teams?
man.
What were the ranks here? Well, I don't
even know if
what
we
the
addressed it
standings
yet.
were going into this.
We did
Let's
not.
go. Let's take a look at this before we jack up the standings with some scores. The Dark Matter number 6, 2440. Mayhem number 8, 2435. Pretty close matchup.
Yeah.
Close,
Yes, it
pretty
was.
close.
Yes, it was.
Excellent matchup. Rounds back and forth. No caps.
That was kind of a surprise. I honestly thought between, especially on cargo, I thought there was going to be at least one smoke cap. We almost saw one here on Snow Peak. but-
Ramen went for that one on the shack.
Yeah,
But he
Solar Bob
just
was able to
outside
stop
of
it.
the smoke. Just a little bit outside the
Just a
smoke.
smidge.
A better placement of the smoke probably would have made that a cap. I think.
Just a
I
little
don't think
further toss.
Solar Bob would have been able to stop that. Nah.
But, fortunately for Mayhem, they did stop it, but I mean, unfortunately, they still lost 10-8. Had to do that math quickly. But yeah, 10-8. Dark Matter coming out with the win. As Will Sell My Piece said, they had no business winning this match. Oh, man.
Well, congrats, Dark Matter.
Yeah, good match, Mayhem. Just might need to watch back where certain things could have went a little bit better. I mean, obviously, you had a couple TKs that probably changed the tide in a few rounds, and if you cut those out, you probably win. But small mistakes, all it takes is one. You fumble the ball once, and somebody can pick it up, take it off, and score. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever. It is what it is. But
that's one of them soccer references, right?
I don't really know. I was going with football, but whatever. it's all football, I guess. But before I end up showing a nip here in my bibs, we got anything to say before we head out of here?
I think that was it. I saw a couple people subscribe. Appreciate all of the subscriptions and new followers. I know we've had a boom in new followers. Shout out to everyone that comes out on a Sunday night with us losers. I mean, honestly, who's the loser? Y'all made this choice, okay? Let's be honest.
I'm gonna say not anybody here in the IVRL, not anybody on cast, not anybody viewing or watching, playing.
Everybody here is a winner. Anyone involved in this is a winner.
Yeah, exactly. But we do appreciate everybody hanging out. It was a fun one. Trip, appreciate you having me. Appreciate joining me for the Yeehaw. Thank you for embracing my West Virginia style, Southern.
I see why Kraft likes doing this. I don't have to do a whole lot of work. He's got a pretty slick deal.
Well, you see what happened. You see what happened. You start talking about all that co-privileges. You start getting bullied into Maine, so you better be careful. Oh man, but yeah, week 12 IVRL in the books. We'll see. I guess week 13. We'll figure out the match.
See y'all next time.
We'll see you around. All right, everybody. Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!